Final Fantasy VIII is a JRPG released in 1999 by Squaresoft for the Sony PlayStation. The game is the first main series Final Fantasy game to feature reasonably proportioned human characters and have a vocal piece as part of its theme music. FF8 is focused on a group of teenage mercenaries called Seeds, as they are flung into a strange and confusing war against Sorceress Ultimecia, or Ultimecia, whatever you like. Gameplay is spread over 4 CDs, which for 1999 was unusual. This allowed for space for a massive story and several fully computer-generated cutscenes. Although the 8th outing of the famous game series was critically well received and sold extremely well, it has become a bit of a dark horse in the series. This is mostly due to the junctioning system, which relies on magic spells as consumables, amongst other things. Up until the previous entry in the series, magic spells were abilities, which used up magic points. The aforementioned junctioning system was a pretty polarising change of pace for the series, and something that I may discuss in another video. I personally love it, and it's a big part of why this entry is my favourite Final Fantasy game. I have to say, although I'm a fan, there's one point of the game that I really hate for a unique reason. About halfway through the story, the team splits off. One team to the home base of Balamb Garden, and the other to the Galbadian missile base to attempt to stop intercontinental ballistic missiles from hitting the former. After the B team is apparently successful in stopping the launch and setting the base self-destruct, they fight the mechanised monstrosity BGH-251F2. Once this annoying enemy is dealt with, the countdown stops, the painstaking alarm continues, and the team is left like this. Back in 2000, when I was playing this game, I was a little bit dumber, believe it or not. I originally got stuck on a segment just before the missile base, which meant, bearing in mind we were in pre-broadband days, I had to buy the Piggyback official strategy guide to progress. I became pretty reliant on this guide, which tells you that you need to find the quote-unquote correct spot in the car park to move on with the game. I spent hours trying to locate this spot by walking up and down aimlessly with the characters. I circled each bay. Oh, come on! Hurry up! I ran along in a straight line. Sometime today would be nice. And even hit it randomly. It turns out you just have to try and leave, and then stand in the middle of the car park to trigger the cutscene. Well, this pretty much highlights the dangers of relying too heavily on strategy guides. In other words, I'm a doofus. It's a bit crazy how you could potentially run around for hours during an impending crisis. At least this way I allowed any Galbadian soldiers or engineers that may have been using the toilet at the time a chance to escape before the missile base exploded. (1995's) Rayman was originally released on the Atari Jaguar, Sony PlayStation, Sega Saturn and MS-DOS. Anyone remember that? In this game, the titular character has to save little creatures called Electroons from cages littered throughout the world. There are 6 cages in each stage, and 17 stages across the first 5 worlds. These are the Dream Forest, Bandland, Blue Mountains, Picture City, and the Caves of Scops. Once you've beaten these worlds, and collected all the cages, you can take on Mr. Dark in the final stage, Candy Chateau. As the cages are the only real collectibles in the game, this means that in order to complete it, you have to beat it 100%. It is also notorious for going from a pretty reasonable romp to horrendously difficult after around 8 stages. Even though Rayman is rather polarising, I personally love the first half of it. The graphics and music are outstanding, and the first 6 or 7 stages are easy to pick up by almost anyone. Rayman had some harder parts, which involve the screen chasing you, either vertically or horizontally, and you may be expecting that I'm going to choose one of these segments. Whilst a lot of these are a right raw pain, I feel that they get a pass, because, frequently, the setup suggests that you are going to be faced up with a challenge, and the segments usually appear deeper into levels once you've got a grip of the mechanics of the area you've been playing through. It is probably a good idea to note, before going further, that Rayman was somewhat of a childhood comfort game for me. I often played it when I was off sick from school, and because I was stuck on this part quite a lot, when I play it, I still feel like I've got a bit of a cold. On the second screen of the second Bandland stage, Allegro Presto, you are faced with this nonsense. These horns here will knock you back onto each platform, which gets progressively smaller as you go up. I'll try to let this speak for itself as much as I can. Really? It's pretty clear that Ubisoft were going for a bit of a rhythm game vibe with this part, which makes sense as we are playing in Bandland, but I really hate this screen with a fiery passion. Oh, don't grab on the edge! Just look at how outrageous this is! Ah! This is what I think of it. Devil May Cry is an action-adventure hack-and-slash game first released on the Sony PlayStation 2 in 2001 by Capcom. During the game, the lead character Dante travels around Malay Island to track down and kill the king of the underworld, Mundus. On the way, he's confronted by whatever this fire, scorpion, spider thing is, and a variety of other devilish enemies in her attempts to stop him from completing his quest. Devil May Cry is well known as an early game in the hack-and-slash genre, which still stands up pretty well today. It's probably best, however, to play the HD remaster on PS3 or PS4 if you are playing for the first time. Gameplay mostly consists of sword and gunplay, used for fighting the aforementioned devil-like enemies throughout the 23-mission story. Around a third of the way through the game, the high-octane gameplay takes a bit of a break with this part here. In order to progress the story, you need to collect the Ifrit fire gauntlets from the top of some floating platforms. In order to do this the way the game expects you to, you need to trigger this switch. This lets these stones loose, introducing you to your first platform segment of the game. This part really messes with your flow, and because of the camera angles and control, it's very easy to fall off and have to start it all again. DMC is a popular game amongst speedrunners, which has resulted in a few extra methods being developed for getting through this part quicker. Just a note, I won't be covering all of these methods in this video. Most of these methods involve using red orbs to acquire additional skills. These red orbs are gathered by killing enemies and smashing items throughout the game. The first method is my most consistently used one. It is the slower of the two methods I will show, but if you mess it up, trying again doesn't cost you as much time. You have to first flip the switch and then position yourself in such a way as to land on the final platform. It's a bit of a pig. Okay. Right, this is the one. Oh, for the love of ah! The second method is to use an ability bought in the shop, which is called Air Raid. This is a quicker method and it doesn't involve flipping the switch first. You have to position yourself like this and then activate Air Raid. This can be quite tricky, as you only have a finite amount of Devil Trigger power used to sustain Air Raid before this form disappears. Well, that's good. Although there are some fixes, I really think that this part of an otherwise great game can just block up. Let's talk about an underappreciated gem. Legacy of Goku 2 is a top-down 2D action RPG, which released on the Game Boy Advance in 2003. The game is, as evident by its title, a sequel. A sequel that improves on its god-awful predecessor in pretty much every way imaginable. The game covers the Cell Saga of the Dragon Ball Z anime, which just so happens to be my favourite part of the series. It takes you from Trunks' origin story to the final showdown of the Cell games. As it was developed in America, the game uses Bruce Falconer's score, which, regardless of your opinion of it in the show, really works fantastically in an RPG setting. Legacy of Goku 2 has a real-time combat system, which allows you to melee attack enemies or throw an array of energy-based projectile attacks. Killing enemies gives you experience points, enough experience points gains you a level, and each level gives you extra points for your attributes. Standard stuff. Whilst the game really didn't do anything groundbreaking, it was a rarity to get such an engaging gaming experience from a DBZ game back in the early 2000s. There are also some really nice touches that impressed me. When you play as the Saiyans, you can transform into a Super Saiyan, which expends your energy bar over a short time. If you speak to a non-playable character in the game during this phase, your character avatar will be in their transformed state. If you choose to return to your normal state and also speak to a character, you see your normal state shown in your avatar. Like I say, nothing groundbreaking, but a nice touch. The game is a pretty fair challenge too. I really hope that I can find more games like this in the future. Evidently, I'm a bit of a fanboy, and I'm really struggling to find anything I don't like about it. Wait, what's going on here? Move your eggs? Why would I do that? I'm the Prince of all Saiyans. Get out of my way, Dino! Oh, right, okay, so he's gone soft. Right, okay, let's move these eggs then. Oh, so I can't fight while I'm holding an egg! Oh my god, it's one of these puzzles. I'm outraged! I understand that in order to pad out an RPG largely based on an action anime, there have to be some contrived puzzles, but what?! I can't even tell you the amount of time I wasted on this disgraceful dinosaur turd of a segment. That's it! I'm going home!